Today's guest is Drew M. Williams, a sales growth specialist, entrepreneur, and the founder of Sales Playbook Builder AI, where he helps founders and CEOs transform their sales processes into scalable AI-powered system. Drew, welcome to Business Growth Playbook.
Happy to be here. Appreciate the intro.
So, Drew, just kind of give us a little background more about what I didn't talk about.
Right. Well, yeah, I definitely, appreciate it was pretty kind of top to bottom there. I guess the other piece that wasn't there was the early days. My first real job. My first job was in restaurants, and I'm still a foodie and love great restaurants and great food, that sort of thing. And that was almost the starting point for my sales career. Not realizing that being a server at a restaurant and running a restaurant is all about sales. But I started in a couple Fortune 500 companies as a individual contributor, a sales rep. And at that time, I didn't realize that I was going through this like really great experience as a first time sales rep, and also as a first time sales rep at a company like 3M. And we had incredible interview shadowing reps, all this sort of thing, just to get to the job. And then once you got the job, now we had this like onboarding, shadowing, playbooks, processes, talk to this person, go on these calls. It was just this like sales 101 foundations into this company. And then fast forward to when you talked about Sales Playbook Builder, I started working with these like early stage founders, these amazing founders and CEOs who had this great idea, a great technology, great solution, but didn't know how to go to market. And I wanted to work with them and thought, since they had a few customers and they got this great product, that they got everything under control, and walked in, and it was a completely different experience than these bigger companies. There were no playbooks, there were no processes, they were kind of winging it. So I started building those from scratch based on that really great foundation at the very start.
Is a process something like process here?
I think so. It's kind of the same as like going out and about, but we go out and about.
Yes, you do go out and about. Oh, that's funny.
I don't think you're going to be on a boat today, right?
No. Although it is rainy here instead of snow, so maybe.
But still at 0 degrees. So.
Yeah.
So Drew, let's talk about how you and Dean have partnered to make these sales playbooks actually achievable for his clients. So can you kind of walk through the process there?
Yeah, let me start out on this one because, Drew is a great partner to Sales Acceleration, but to me personally with Sales Growth Imagination, we've done some shows before, always patient with me. I think he's had to be. But the part that, is setting apart is, and you probably heard the Butch Nicholson show this morning live. We'd kind of worked with Rain Group and Chris Coca and built sales coaching around a very affordable training. But what it told us is, hey, it's kind of like having a builder in the box. And that was a combination of training, applying coaching. So it's almost like having a sales manager in a box to be very affordable. But what it did, and I was telling Drew about it, I said, hey, this kind of took me into where I'm helping, B2C. It could be as simple as a UPS store's husband, wife. They never had sales in their background. They bought a franchise, and we were able to put a solution around, and a lot different scalable, meaning smaller companies. As we're talking about the playbook, one of the things that I put together and work with Drew is, hey, let's do the same thing with a sales book approach. And I got to tell you, when you start taking a phased approach with a standard input where you can have the customer do most of the work with us, basically project managing, I'm glad to take my consulting out of that, right? And it makes it affordable because, as Drew will tell you, everyone needs a good playbook, and I didn't really have that option. And then as you go up through the series, you get to an advanced playbook. The advanced playbook is a greater amount of content put in. Again, I can apply as much or as little of the consulting because you still need to keep that affordable. But as you go up the scale, you'll hear architect in the box. Well, we're getting into a customized playbook. We're spending a lot more time on content. So is the customer. But then when you get past that, as I think you both have heard, you get into Sales Acceleration's framework. What an unbelievable program. And you can see that the Firefly Group, the PE company that owns EOS, also owns SX. You can see a flavor because the first 110 days are about 30 of my hours, leadership on the customer side, other leadership in the company, sales leadership, and a lot of customer content building out what about the 110th day will be not only a customized sales playbook, we're talking a playbook at the level of what a enterprise or corporation would have in HR for an employee handbook. It is that comprehensive because when you get to framework, you're not talking about making things sustainable. You're talking about scaling. You're talking about a 3 to 5 year strategic roadmap. And, so I think that what is cool about a lot of the dialogue today, we now have an affordable solution. And as Drew will already tell you, I've just turned, the one win from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
As part of the program, we built an affordable option for a client who said, okay, I'm going to do this, to the point that in month 4, day 1, it's automatically a part of the contract as a billable. So, nice. And what's beautiful, as Drew will tell you with his team, Pedro personally is already involved. We're starting on the playbook day 1. We're not waiting that. We're going to deliver it in the 4th month. And we're doing that because we're going to start implementing to the playbook for that company, as well as keeping myself accountable, at that point in time. So already the process side is changing. So, and I know, Drew, you may want to elaborate more because Drew has done, thousands of playbooks for many different customers. So as I was telling him what I was trying to do, he said, hey, I'm going to help. I got some great ideas. And, a couple hours of strategy has totally changed the way I'm engaging with clients with sales playbooks. And Drew.
Yeah. Awesome. Drew.
Yeah. Well, I think you were talking about that, just like when I think of playbooks too, because I think we know what we're talking about because we've seen a bunch of them and we live that language. And that's why working together is great because we speak the same language from sales playbooks. But I think a lot of business owners, a lot of CEOs, founders, whether you're just starting out or you've been around for 50 years, the idea of a sales playbook, maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it. Maybe you've heard about processes and SOPs and standard operating procedures and that sort of thing, which usually is like for the rest of the company where sales usually sits in its own little silo. But we have our own processes and we have our own steps that we go through and sales is like that. And I think a lot of CEOs, business owners don't understand that if you have customers, you have a sales process and you have a sales playbook. It just isn't documented and maybe it's not optimized. But when we talk about playbooks and specifically sales playbooks, that's all we're talking about is if you have customers, they have gone through some sort of buying journey. They needed to get something solved or buy something or do something. And they went through the stage of, okay, I'm aware that I need to go and ship this package, or I'm aware that I need to go and buy a UPS box for my business and an address for my business that I'm incorporating. If we're just kind of keep on that UPS one where it's like, okay, so now you're aware of it. Now you're going to go through this process of, okay, do I do UPS? Do I do FedEx? Do I do Purelator? Do I just have a local postal? Do I have to rent this? Then you start going through this process and then you pick one. then you negotiate, you find out the pricing, and then you finally close the deal. But there is an inherent process in there. And what we really try and do at the very beginning is just unpack that whole step by step, which then sets out essentially the table of contents, or the outline of what that playbook looks like. So when you are going to market with whatever team you have, and especially when you bring on new people, that you are reading from the same song sheet and you all have the same value proposition. You all are reaching out to the same customers, telling them the same message, having the great competitive analysis and points and battle cards versus competition, while still bringing our own unique personalities to sales, because it's not about just being a robot and being scripted, but it's being aligned on our go-to-market approach from the top of funnel all the way through sales, all the way to customer success, so that as a team, we can have a repeatable process that's scalable, that we can then bring on new people or bring on AI solutions on top of, because we have this foundation in order to make it repeatable and scalable over time. And then from a sales management perspective, if you're getting all this information and we're all following the same process, then we can coach on that. And we don't just have a bunch of people that are shooting from the hip and we're trying to like improve our sales process because everyone's doing something different. So when I just step back and think about a playbook, it's our documented process of how do we get a customer that identifies a problem that they have, finds us, engages with us, closes business with us, and sticks around with us for the next few years, getting that documented so then we can like build a repeatable, scalable process from that.
Hey, one of the things, Drew, if you could elaborate, because I know when a couple, and you actually participated in one with Vish Verma with Vision 2002X, but the one show that where I was running solo, you had really helped me understand the advanced prompting. And what I think is really cool is getting the content, the graphics, and really, because I only operate, as you know, with at least the customized version, because I think that personalization is what my customers need. But one of the parts when you walked through the advanced prompting and how that relates to the table of contents to each area under sales strategy, under methodology, under the analytics, under the people part, and how you're bringing that in. And, because working very hard with the client to get the content is one thing. Getting it positioned in the playbook to where it can be effectively used and not become a static document, I think is most important. But I was fascinated with the work that you had already done on the programming side and the advanced prompting to really give that visual look and really usability for the client. I mean, I think that is a differentiator, to say the least.
Yeah, there's definitely like AI on two parts of like our process is on the intake piece and the build piece, and then there's also the bringing the playbook to life, like the static playbook, and bringing that to life with AI, because a lot we can do with that. But what I've been like super fascinated with building out content specifically for sales playbooks is that when I started building sales playbooks before AI, I'd work with the CEO and their team. We'd have a few discovery conversations. I'd unpack essentially their sales process, their ideal customer, who they sell to, the buyers, their pain points, who our best customers are, how we can replicate them, how to identify them. So just kind of going through all that and then taking all of those notes and synthesizing them into a playbook. And that took a ton of time and a lot of work. And so my first hire from that was a technical copywriter. And because I was like, there must be somebody out there who loves writing and typing and doing all this stuff and synthesizing data. There's got to be somebody out there. So found Catherine, who's been working with me for the past 5 years, 5 years doing this. So we would do all that manually. So when I think of with AI, like obviously it's like helped us in terms of turning around really high quality playbooks that are that would take 40, 50, 60 hours of analysis, creation, editing, and that sort of thing to make sure that we get it right, and really compressing that timeline for companies, but also for advisors like you, Dean, to give you like more strategic time to work with the company, as opposed to like, I need someone to come in and type up 100-page document. It's like, no, I want to get to a place where like we have a starting point where now we can work strategically with our advisor, with our mentor, with our team, whatever it is, on a document that we can modify, as opposed to being the creator of it. We're the modifier, the editor of it. And that's like where the AI piece came in, where we have our inputs, which is like the information that the company is giving us in order to like build the output, which is the sales playbook. And then in between there, in that 3-step process, is the process. So input, process, output. And the process is that manual step-by-step that you do without AI. So, okay, number one, I get the information, I do the interviews, I read through the interviews, I analyze them, I match them up to different parts of the sales playbook and that sort of thing. And then now I'll create a playbook from that. So now what we can do is like that middle piece is like bring in AI to help us take the inputs, analyze it, and then create a playbook, and we can customize that table of contents based on what the sales team or organization is focused on for this particular quarter or year, and build a playbook that's ready for them with their information and ready for like their particular priorities. But it takes that like human in the loop. And so we don't just have a platform that does this. Like we have a team and AI. So we work very closely like with AI, but it's all human led, where we have this extra layer of eyes and prompting that go on so that we can build the right sections based on the right information, so that we're getting the best outputs from the AI, so that when we do give it to a client or give it to an advisor like you, Dean, to then pass on to the client, you're confident that you're getting like a consultant grade $30,000 report that now you can just start focusing and applying your context and your knowledge of the industry to make this even better and coach up and do that sort of thing.
Well, and one of the things that you've done, while it does cost more, you've given the flexibility of the unlimited edits in that process. And I know in a conversation with a potential client last week, I walked through and they're like, is there a way to get this price point down slightly? I'm like, well, there is, but you would literally go to a fixed edit process. And I think that's in your best interest. And I said, to be honest, I said, my hard cost on that is like another $500. I said, if I need to eat that, I'm going to, because I know you're going to get that much better of an output. And I don't really want to be a part of that other product. And the customer's like, oh, if that's all we're talking, the price is a non-issue, because he understood the value of the getting it right. And I think that's the key, because if it's not right, they're not going to use it the way they need to use it on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, it's the foundation to your home. Like you don't want to build a home without building the foundation first. You don't do that. You don't start trying to put in windows and a roof and walls up until you're the foundation. And if the foundation isn't solid, like if you're trying to do it yourself and it's like, no, you know what? It's the first time I'm going to buy a house or like build my own house. I'm going to dig my own hole. I'm going to put in my own foundation. I'm going to do all this first. And like maybe, I saw a YouTube video about somebody who said, if you put the fence up outside before this, then that would help. So you kind of like do these little hacks, and then eventually you kind of have some sort of structure, but it's not foundationally solid. And somebody could open the front door and the whole thing falls, but you just don't know that you're there yet. So it's like slowing down to speed up is very, very valuable.
Well, you explained why I had trouble trying to build my own home, but but one of the other parts, and it was interesting because I watched a client. They did not get the playbook. They had gotten it 3 or 4 years ago. Whoever created it for them, it wasn't worth the paper printed on. It was that bad, and it became static. And you know, there's still an opportunity, and they're like, well, what's going to be different with what you're doing? And I went through all of this part, and I was about ready to call you, Drew, to say, hey, I think I've got an idea. And all of a sudden I saw an update from SX saying, for this extra price, very nominal, the customer can refresh and update their playbook if they're on the custom version each year. And I think that's an incredible approach, because for a client, that is one of their biggest concerns, is how long will this live? Well, the reality is, based on their industry, you can't really answer it, because some of their worlds are moving really fast with new competitors, changes in product services. They're trying to reinvent themselves. So talk a little more about that and how you got to that point, because I think that's one of the most incredible offerings, because it helps customers long after I'm in an engagement, just by doing the right things for them.
Yeah, I mean, playbooks are not just a document and a really great presentation that you just do once a year, or I mean, maybe once a year, but you don't do it once and done and then like throw it on the shelf and say, okay, we did our job and we've got this like process down, but we're not going to do anything with it. So it's like, one is like bringing it to life and making sure that it's used, but then keeping it refreshed, because to your point, it's like there's things that are like always happening in the field. There's obviously macro and micro, and then industry, and then like what's happening on our individual calls, that all should be fed into the playbook and updating it and making it smarter over time. And one way is just, revisiting it on a regular basis, whether it's a quarterly basis or a yearly basis, to go back through and go through the playbook. And what I see the biggest value is like the deliverable of the playbook is great. It really is a valuable asset to the team, and future team, like we said, is that foundation. But when you go through when you go through that playbook on a yearly basis, quarterly basis, whatever it is, and you really think hard about, is this truly our value proposition today in today's market? Are these really our competitors? Is this really the ICP, the ideal customer, and the right buyer that we're going to? And think about it critically and talk about it as a team, but then take it to the next level and talking to like a trusted advisor who has experience in that industry, in sales and that sort of thing, to like be very critical about your approach. This gives you a place that you can look at to then say, okay, just revisit that and go through that process to like think about and have those questions to say, yeah, maybe it is really where we want to go. Or maybe, you know what, our last 10 deals closed really fast and it was in this industry. So let's prioritize that instead of this one. And then we can kind of just do a quick little shift, quarter by quarter or year by year. But thinking through those different pieces of the playbook, and especially those like foundational pieces, which are our value proposition, who we sell to, and then what does our competition look like, revisiting those like very critically and honestly on a regular basis, like that'll reinvent the playbook and keep the team on their toes.
Well, and I'll tell you, because I mean, this, the amount of time and effort we put into a playbook around framework with all those hours. I mean, that document in that playbook not only is living, that is something that can actually help increase the value of the company when a PE or someone else is actually looking to make an acquisition. It's no different than how you have your books and finances, or they're looking for an exceptional HR playbook, because that gets all around scalability, onboarding of new people as you're growing. In the customized version, I think the same thing. But what I like about this makes every playbook, regardless of what level it is, it makes it livable, but it also makes it where there's a upgrade path naturally. So some of these smaller customers that really are only going to be able to invest in, say, the standard playbook, it's still a great playbook for them. But as they grow as a company, the playbook has an ability to live with them to each level. another question, I mean, because it frustrates me, quite honestly, it pisses me off when I see it, because it's kind of like what AI is doing when people misuse it across the board. And Jeff knows where I'm going with this one. He's heard me say it way too often. You said it best. When AI is enabling whatever it may be, in this case, we're talking about phenomenal content, hard work, it can do some amazing things. But I have seen too many cases, and I've passed a couple to you, and you almost chuckled when you saw them. But you have some of these companies where they're saying, hey, let us go scrape your website or LinkedIn site. And, oh, by the way, here's a playbook. And they're basically using AI to create it. And it's not worth the paper it's printed on. And unfortunately, I think the one example I had they were never a real prospect to me, but I had a trusted advisor. It was actually Frank Thomas.
Yep.
They're in the Lean Six Sigma area in manufacturing. And he was in one. He watched a leader throw a playbook in the trash can, said they spent 30 grand. It was a company out of London, UK, England, and they never even came on site. Someone unfortunately bought it hook, line, and sinker, paid 30 grand, and then they threw it in the trash can within a couple months. It had literally no value. Well, unfortunately, going across that big pond, they had no recourse either.
Wow.
So that's probably the worst scenario. But what I normally see is, like, I had a young lady call me trying to sell, and I was nice to her because she kind of reminded me of my daughter. But she's like trying to convince me to buy a playbook for my company. And I'm like, did you even look at my website or my LinkedIn and know what I do? I go, I do this every day. And I go, but you're showing me something that has zero value. And by the end of the conversation, I was career coaching her on where she needed to probably go get a different job. But I'm just curious, you're dealing with 240 SX advisors around the US, Canada, maybe a few in Europe. Do you see, I haven't seen that recently, but I think when I first was really out talking Playbook, it seemed to come up more. But are you still seeing a lot of bad actors in that space?
I mean, there's always, like, especially with AI, like, AI is the one thing that it's really great at, and that's the lowest common denominator, is generating content. You go to ChatGPT and any other LLM and say, write me a story, write me a playbook, write me 50 pages of this, and it'll do it. Right? It's really, really good at that. I'm just giving you what you want on that first kind of like little prompt. So it's like, that's why it's like generative AI. It's just generating stuff for you. And that's why there's more and more, they call it the AI slop that's coming into playbooks and social media and all this sort of thing, because it's really good at it. And people get really excited that, oh, like now I can like all of a sudden generate 20 pages of stuff in 2 seconds, where that would have taken me like 3 days. So that means my output is more. So therefore I should just keep creating stuff. And that's not the way to look at how to leverage AI, because you just end up generating slop. So when you go into like a large language model like ChatGPT, and you ask it a question, it kind of has two core pieces that it's pulling from. One is like the knowledge base, which is the brain. So in a ChatGPT, it's going to be a lot of stuff. And then the other piece, other than the knowledge base, is the system instructions, which is what the humans wrote as the instructions to the AI of how to act. And so in ChatGPT, it's going to be, you're a helpful assistant to the entire human population. Like those are your instructions. So when you ask it a question to say, build me a sales playbook for my company that sells CRM, that sells a CRM for sales companies, it's going to give me something out, because that's what it's there to be, a helpful assistant. It's not there to ask me questions. It's not there to criticize me. It's not there to act as a go-to-market consultant. Like, those weren't the system instructions we put into it. So that's why when you get it back, most of the time we have to like work with it to get it to act and give us the output that we actually wanted. to give us. So when we're building these like custom playbooks and custom AI solutions, we're very intentional in terms of how we train the AI to act. We need to focus it on a specific knowledge base, in this case, the sales playbook and other sales enablement resources and product sheets and whatever else is in there. That's the knowledge base that you pull from so you get consistent output. And then the system instructions, you're not just a helpful assistant to anybody. Like, you're a strategic sales advisor that has in-depth knowledge about this industry, about this company. You have a knowledge base that's full of their sales playbook that has everything you need to know about all their products. And when you're engaging with the user, you need to make sure that you're not just giving an answer, but you're like thinking about what their intention is when they ask a question so that you can be a really great advisor. So if somebody comes into the chat and says, like, who do we sell to? If you were to ask a person that, like, if you were in a client situation and I was a seller and I walked in on my first day and I'm like, Dean, who do we sell to? You're probably not going to just say, oh, we sell to these ICPs and here's what their challenges are. You'd say, like, why do you need to know that? Or like, what are you thinking of? Like, are you preparing for a meeting? Like, do you have some concerns? Like, what do you want to know about them? So you can train the AI to act in that particular way. So that's how you like customize the outputs. And so anybody can build a generic SaaS product or AI tool now, because AI, again, is good at generating stuff. What we're doing to differentiate, and I think this is what the great companies are going to do in the future when they're leveraging AI, is like being very intentional and smart in terms of like what lenses we're putting on the system instructions to make sure that we're getting consistent, informative, and it's working the way that we want our team to be using it. And also like making sure that we have the right information in that knowledge base to consistently get that particular output so that you don't get AI slop versus like, holy crap, this AI thinks like me, knows like me, and is like one step ahead of me as a sales assistant.
One of the things by doing everything we're talking about, I mean, as you and I were talking, similar to the training, but if you think of probably the most important thing that I do, that I have the really unbelievable tools on the sales discovery, the 4.0 assessment. And I got to tell you, we've gotten damn good at it. I know I nail that 100% of the time. And when I say nail it, I'm not necessarily the most popular person, but when we're in the account, we're looking at what the owner says they believe the issues are. Confidentially, we're matching that up to what the other leaders are saying compared to sales. And then we try to find those gems in the rough that are the on-site implementation manager, customer support, truck driver, shipping manager, anyone touching the client, because at the end of the day, the customers trust them more than they do sales or leaders. I mean, but what we changed there is I used to always tie that to an engagement. And what I realized was it's similar to what we're changing here. And that's where I'm going with this is now we'll do the discovery. We do it for a fee. It'll take 30 to 60 days because when you start doing the one-on-ones after you identified the gap analysis with that 4.0 assessment, I mean, it takes time to do it right. You have to capture that, prioritize. Well, what's beautiful about that is it then builds out the deliverables of what needs to be done on the roadmap to fix it. So what I've learned is with a lot of sales-led owners, they want to try it themselves. I did not have a way to do that. Some of them are saying, I've got the clarity now. I know I need help. This just isn't the right time. We got other initiatives. So we're going to put it on hold to do anything. I know this is hard to believe, but they may not like me. So I might need to help them get another advisor. But on a truthful note, when you're dealing with all these unknown truths coming out, it gets a little hairy because people are saying, well, how did I not know that?
Right.
And I don't know that sometimes those conversations get very good between a owner and a leader or someone else. Mm-hmm. But regardless, we've made that very flexible. And I think that's what with what you've helped me on the playbook, we've done that as well, because for those owners that want a better cost alternative and they want to do the work, and we have the intake form and we're tweaking that with them and continuing to edit, that enables them to get a really good playbook. And I had one owner recently, and I said, here's the problem for you paying me, because they were trying to do a playbook and they were struggling. I'm like, I'm going to be in your conference room, and you and two other people in your company are going to be sitting there regurgitating to me content that I'm going to then be subscribing or recording to put into a playbook. Why don't I give you the intake form? I'll help you on maybe strategy or process, and you pay me minimally for that day. And we do that, but then I'll coach you on the rest, because I knew they were sales led. And I said, I think it's kind of silly that you pay me to sit across from you on the table and me basically be your scribe. And I might have said a little different than that, but I said, if you want to pay me to do that, I'll be glad to take your money. But I'll tell you, it led to a great conversation, and I'm pretty confident they're getting ready to do the playbook. But they really want to take their time. There's 3 leaders. Unfortunately, 100 or at least 80% of the entire intellectual knowledge of the company are in 3 people's heads, and really 2 people, which is kind of frightening, because both of these gentlemen are in their 60s. But that's the part I like about the approach now, is it really helps me in each of the categories. And you were asking earlier, I guess, no, that was Butch on his show. He was asking about the sales led. And I just kind of laughed, because as both of you know, when I had my own company, my own father was calling me and my partner. He said, you guys are kind of like assholes. And I'm like, what? He goes, well, you're not listening to anyone. And we were winning everything we touched. And eventually we outgrew our structure. We lost some good people. We weren't taking care of our clients the right way, and we had to slow down, and we got back on track. But if he were alive today, he would laugh and he'd go, son, paybacks are hell, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Because he's like, you're calling on you now. Mm-hmm. Because when you're dealing with the sales led, as you know, I mean, it's their blood, sweat, and tears, their heart and soul. It's their baby. And if you go into one of the accounts with that and don't recognize all of that hard work and effort, and they think you're going to change everything they've built, you're not going to get very far. So you got to find a way to preserve all of that, because ultimately in those cases, you're trying to help the owner replace themselves in a lot of things on the sales side. 1, so they can have a better work-life balance. But 2, if you don't do it and they're thinking of an exit strategy, that company is not going to have a value. They're going to struggle to sell it, because everyone's going to go, what is this company worth without that owner? But that's the part that I think is real exciting with what you've helped us enable, me and other advisors in other cities, because I know you don't engage the other guys in Atlanta, so I appreciate that.
Well, it's interesting. Just that story you're talking about. 2 of them. Number 1 was the sales. The saleswoman who called you, who reminded you of your daughter, right?
Yeah.
Who was trying to sell you a sales playbook. So it's funny, because 2 years ago, because we've been partnered with Sales Acceleration for just over 2 years now. So it all started when ChatGPT came out, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I could build a sales playbook in 24 hours just based on a website. I just wanted to see what chat could do with it. And so it was a great kind of first practice and project. It was when ChatGPT literally just came out. So I just sent an email out to my newsletter, my email list, and said, hey, is anybody interested in a 24-hour sales playbook? And one of the guys from Sales Acceleration, Steve Griffith, he's in Texas. He reached out and said, hey, I'm interested. And so I was like, okay, cool. But I saw his email was whatever, something at salesacceleration.com. And I just, from a sales background, when I'm thinking, because this was like CEO founder-led sales, I'm doing it myself. So like my process is, okay, I looked at the person who's requesting it, went to their URL, found out that he's like a VP of sales, like fractional VP of sales. I'm like, there's no way he's requesting this for his own company. And so when you think of like building a playbook, it's like, if I didn't have that insight and I just like had a process of just like, when we get an inbound, we send out a sample playbook and say, thanks very much, here you go. If you want to sign up, go here. Whereas I went to that site and I identified them as a different ideal customer, right? He's not just a regular business owner who wants a sales playbook. It's like, this is a fractional VP of sales who's partnered with a bigger organization. So I'm going to red flag this to myself, escalate it, because this could be a bigger opportunity for me. And turns out 2 years later, it's an amazing opportunity for me. But if that wasn't documented from me, like if I brought somebody on 3 years ago, just as a first sales hire to say, hey, start selling our 24-hour sales playbook or whatever we decided to do, without documenting that thought process, if I saw those leads come in, we wouldn't be here talking today. And it's like, getting that out of your head is the most important thing from a CEO. And what a lot of CEOs, and especially founders CEOs, whether you've been in business 5 years or 50 years, you don't realize the vault that you have locked up that is like just incredibly full of knowledge that you need to get out of your head and onto paper for succession planning, for successful hiring, for exiting. Like all of that needs to get out, and that's that's what we do, right? Together, it's like we work with these companies to get that out, and once you have that out, now you have an organization that's scalable and repeatable based on that tribal knowledge that's been built up over decades.
Other thing that you did listening, because to me it's amazing in this business right now, and unfortunately I think a lot of my success and other advisors' success is due to a lot of small businesses struggling. I mean, that's the downside. The positive part is we're able to help them, but I would say my pipeline is 8 to 10x stronger, as well as my customer base today, than it was this time last year. And I had reached out to Drew and I said, hey, my goal is to touch a business owner every day. And I said, I'm doing it right now on average. And, I may be in a workshop one day in front of 15 CEOs that I'm talking to,
Right.
but I've got them 2 hours in a educational sales workshop. You're touching them, right?
Yeah.
But here's the kicker. This month, I was telling Butch earlier, he goes, how's that goal going? Because Butch knows. I'm like, I'm at 22 business owner meetings this month to date. I said, if you count the business days, we're obviously a lot fewer than 22, right? So, and I kind of feel like we've all seen Animal House, where I'm going. I feel like if you remember John Belushi, and he was in the Delta fraternity, and they got put on double secret probation. And I kind of feel like I'm always on double secret probation, meaning people see me as sales and are like, he's got the silver bullet, the magic wand. He's going to help me immediately. And they're like, no, this is a hard work. This isn't easy. If it's easy, I wouldn't have a company. But then the second part is, and I've had people bring it up. They're like, okay, we know you're really good at this. So you got all these tricks and you're really subliminally or negative selling me right now. So we know you're doing something nifty. We can't figure it out. And I'm like, all right, I got to get that stuff off the table. It's got to be a conversation. So when I brought that up to you and told you how many I was talking to, and I said, I know I have to do we nailed the bigger playbooks. We're so good at that. You're good at it with us. But it's like, I have got to be able to have a true conversation. And Drew's like, well, why don't I build you a sample playbook? He said, we're only going to be having minimal data. And we looked at it. And I said, hey, I do a really good discovery. And thank God I have Phantom recording and summarizing, because sometimes I can't read my own handwriting or I miss things. But I faxed that in, or scanned that in. I took the Phantom recording. I sent that to his team. That was on one of your parts with Pedro's team. And they went and they did competitive analysis on the company.
Mm-hmm.
So they give you enough to kind of form the shape of a table of content and a couple teaser sections where it shows some of the content. And I know for a fact 3 weeks ago, I closed one new customer, full services. And I think the effort in going through that process to show what we did and the partners we have, like Drew, I'm confident that was the icing on the cake. But now we're doing that. I've done that with 15 companies now. And the amount of conversations we're having because of it, there are going to be a few that they're not going to do my services. It's really not the right fit, but they're going to do a playbook. So you can make an argument, well, maybe that is part of my services. But I think you might want to talk a little about that and how you came to that point, because you really have helped me. And it would be similar to the training or the discovery analysis. It's given me an ability to truly, authentically have a real option and a trusting conversation with people I know I would not have been able to have that around Playbook if you go back 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Well, it goes back to the 3-step that I talked about earlier, which is the input, process, output. So with generative AI, we can get so much from it. And a lot of people don't lean into it to get as much as they can out of it because they're looking for that silver bullet. So sales has always been that silver bullet type of thing where it's like, let's just do that one thing that'll increase sales by 100%. And we just need to find that one thing and get that one person who can come in and do it. And it's like, it's never like that. If you've been in sales your whole life, it's a grind. And it's the same stuff you got to do over and over again until you get so bored that you just get so good at it. And it's just all repetition and practice and getting your bats in and that sort of thing. And so far, I haven't seen silver bullets. And in the thousands of hours of conversations with other sales leaders and sales reps and VPs of sales who've been around for 15, 20, 30 years themselves, there is no silver bullet in sales. It's all hard work. It's building the foundation, building the next level, trying something out, redoing it, trying something out, redoing it, and just doing that over and over and over again. So I think with sales and AI, it's kind of a double silver bullet where people want that silver bullet from a sales perspective, but they also are like, oh, AI can do it too. So why don't we just get AI to like do our lead gen? Why don't we just get AI to do our discovery calls? Why don't we just hire AI sales reps? Because it doesn't change. There is no silver bullet. Like there's always hard work and repetition and coaching and improvements, because sales in and itself in an organization is very, very different than any other piece of the organization. You can hire, and I don't know, maybe fractional CFOs or fractional accountants might get mad at me, or lawyers or whatever, but it's like you can hire that sort of person to come in to plug in a system to say, okay, I need someone to do my taxes every year, and I need someone to put in hiring policies, and they can do that. And there's a standard, and there's just like, you do it once and you can repeat it for the next 5-10 years. Sales is a performance organization. So you put in the processes, you put in that standard operating procedure, but it needs to be coached on. It needs to be observed. You need to listen to what's going on with your buyers to like adjust and change. So it's a little bit more in that like performance, whether it's sports or arts. It's like if you're in a band, or if you're an artist, or if you're the best NFL player out there, you train, you practice, you go through hard knocks. It's not fun. It's boring. But at the end of the day, you still wake up and you have this competitive spirit, and you keep doing it over and over and over again. And that's how you can perform at a high level, because there's a standard, but then like performance is like you can smash through that standard to be like even better and keep improving. So it's just like a slightly different approach from that traditional standard operating procedure playbook piece where we got to put those in, but you also got to like, there is no silver bullet in sales or in AI. And when we put them together, our most of the expectations are that there is, but there isn't.
Be a silver bullet, but I would say that the sample playbooks that Dean's talking about certainly are helping provide proof of concept, proof of process, and helping him, get more interest in working with sales acceleration, sales growth, imagination, and Dean.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of and maybe that's what it is too, right? So it's like whenever you have silver bullets as the solution, you have all these people. Like there's a ton of sales gurus on LinkedIn and on YouTube, and there's a ton of AI gurus and that sort of thing on LinkedIn and YouTube and anywhere you can find them. And a lot of it is just a lot of hype. And so now you get jaded as a buyer, right? Because now you got to think of our side. We're trying to sell not a magic bullet, but a thoughtful, intentional way of doing something versus someone who's saying, oh, we can just do it overnight and we can do this and add AI to it and you'll have 10x customers. And it's like, okay, well, how do you cut through that noise? And so what we've thought through that process is say, okay, well, let's address that objection right up the front or right off the front. So it's like, well, instead of saying, hey, I've got this great this great system, why don't you reach out to me and I'll give you a sample? It's like, why don't I just give you the sample up front? Why don't I just show you what we can do? Okay, I'm going to give you a little taste of it. I'm going to put an asterisk to say, we don't have all the company information. We don't have all the context. We don't have all of that. But here's what we've done just based on some simple discovery and based on your website and some other research that we do. We're just going to prove it to you. We're going to show it to you. And that's kind of the lead magnet versus it being like, reach out to me. It's like, no, you know what? I see that you're hiring for a new sales manager and a founding sales rep. I went to your website. I built this sample table of contents for you. I did a market research report and we did a competitive analysis. Here you go. You can use it because it's really great information and you probably don't know how to prompt AI in a way to get this information that we do. So we're just giving you an asset for your company. And now we're giving you a teaser of if we do this for free, imagine what we can do if we actually work together.
Well, and I can tell you it's made a huge difference. And some of the competitive intel that's given to the advisors, that's also helped me have more productive conversations with the owners because you're capturing some data that even with tools that I would use, like I use Perplexity, I use Level 42 from Lee Blackstone, who I think you might have met, I think, or ChatGPT 5.0 I have, but it's not going to capture the level of some of the detail. That's helped me have some very productive conversations. And I'll tell you, some of I think from working with Vish Verma in that 2002X, I'm dealing with someone from Dubai, 3 companies out of, one from Mumbai, 2 from New Delhi. I just was on the call, as you know, with Hidden Disabilities out of London, UK, with their leader out of Australia, New Zealand. And I got to tell you, the competitive part really helped me. And it's critical because these companies all want to come into the U.S. And some of them have tried and failed miserably. Others are scared to do. Some of their structure of being for-profit in other countries, but yet in the U.S., you can do some things in other countries that here you can't do as for-profit. You would have to be structured as non-profit or not-for-profit. So it's helped me get some grounding to go, hey, I can help you, but we got some serious business conversations that are really outside of sales. But if we don't address these, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
And in one of them, it was to the point that literally, if they don't change their structure, they really can't come to the U.S., not and be successful. But anyway, I mean, it's going to be fun seeing you in about 5 weeks, I guess, right?
Yeah. And flying in on the 17th,
Yeah, I
Dallas,
would have.
Fort Worth.
Well, I would have, but that's my wife's 60th birthday is actually on the 17th.
Well, there you go.
So I will be celebrating that, and then I'll be there Sunday morning. But we have a very special night together on Monday night. I mean,
What's the Monday night?
you're going to see me walking out in long pants, decked to the hilt, and you're going to be buying me beers as we celebrate watching Georgia win yet another natty.
Is that on Monday night? I forget that all the national championships always land on the SX Summit, because then they put it on the big screen last year.
They did, and I'm sure they will this year. And I can assure you, if Georgia's playing in it, you're going to see an outfit that you're going, holy crap, I never thought I would see someone quite that. You're going to realize a fanatic would be an understatement. Probably like you with some of your hockey favorite teams.
I'm not a hockey fan. I'm more of an NFL fan. Yeah, you won't catch me dressed up as a Maple Leaf or anything like that. But I'll be excited to see you as a Bulldog in Dallas.
I will definitely be that, and I'll bring red pom-poms for all of us to shake up and get a little crazy. You just need to buy the beer, so.
Deal. And bourbon, I guess, too, right?
I'm okay with bourbon as well.
Yeah, he's definitely okay with that. That's for sure. All right, well, man, this is about an hour long already. Great conversation. Any parting knowledge there, Dean? Any other questions?
I'm excited on 2026. I've thrown down a number of a gauntlet to Drew, what I am committing to him this year.
Okay.
He's already raised it as a good sales leader would and say, hey, your quota is going to be higher than that, because if it's not, you're definitely not going to deliver the number you're telling me.
And there's going to be a clawback if you don't get the actual bonus, that sort of thing too. So or you don't get to the goal.
Yeah, so that part will definitely happen. But I think that what the tools that you've done, I mean, you're just a great partner, good friend, and I'm really excited about 2026 because with having this Playbook Architect in a Box program and having, different playbook approaches versus one size fits all, this is going to be a major part of our business and success. And I'm already seeing it with the 15 opportunities that you're aware of that we already have in motion. And by the way, I just got another commitment. And this one, guess who the general manager of North America is for this company that is committed to a playbook?
Who's that?
Sean Donahue. You remember him from Tampa?
Yeah. Recognize that name?
Who went to Dubai to work on bringing a company to the U.S. and the same role I'm in.
Yeah.
And
I know Sean.
They liked Sean to the degree that they hired him.
Sean introduced me to you, Dean.
Oh, that's right.
We live 20 minutes down the road from each other, but it took a guy from Tampa to put us two together.
I had forgot about that.
That's right.
That's too funny.
Thank God he did introduce us.
Yes, thank God.
Sean is living in a little town of Anderson, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Loving life. He got to Greenville and he said, man, traffic sucks here like Tampa and Atlanta. And he goes, so they moved to the little village. I just talked to him yesterday. As you probably know, Drew, if not, I hope I'm not getting Pedro's team in trouble. But they went ahead and helped me build a sample playbook for Sean. But as you know, Sean can do an intake and a playbook as well as anyone across the country. So it's kind of a little unfair advantage for me, but I'm very thankful that his company has engaged me. I think I'm going to pick a couple people, help him with Amplify as well. So it's not like he needs the sales leadership part from me. Yeah. He's pretty darn good leader.
Yeah.
But,
I'm definitely excited for 2026 too. I think working with you, working with the other advisors, I think like with AI, like this whole team that we've like put together to support businesses and CEOs. We're like really leveraging AI in a really smart way. We're leveraging the ability to like document best practices and standard operating procedures that might not have been documented for new employees, for building AI on top of, for increasing our valuation, for getting ready for exit readiness, succession plan, and whatever that is. But like these different layers that we can bring to clients of leveraging AI, leveraging our playbook process, plus leveraging the context awareness and the experience that advisors have working with those companies. There's not, I don't see much like that out there in this type of like way of working together as a really human in the loop plus AI plus expertise and context. I think it's very powerful, and I'm excited because like we're just at the start of the partnership together with us, but also with SX and the other fractional VPs of sales. But that's the fun part, is like building this awareness of it, building the momentum, building the trust, getting into these organizations, because once we can show them what we can do, we're going to be partners for life.
Agree. I appreciate everything you, Pedro, and the rest of the team are doing to support us. It is making a huge difference, and I'm very committed to this, but you've now enabled me to help pretty much any size B2B, but also B2C companies now. And that's something that I did not have in my portfolio in the past. So very grateful for it, very excited about it. And I know there are going to be some big things.
Awesome. Well, Drew, if somebody's interested in learning more about these playbooks, where can they go to find that information?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure we can provide some links in the show notes, but if you just put Drew Williams, Sales Playbook Builder, you'll find me. And we're at salesplaybookbuilder.ai, where you can find everything there is to know about us.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the show today, Drew. Really, really appreciate it. Dean, where can people find you if they need some assistance in the sales world?
We'll make it easy. Dean at salesgrowthimagination.com and or website salesgrowthimagination.com. Anyone is that eager to get started, cell phone 404-307-1841. And if you get near me on LinkedIn, you'll see me probably more than I like to be seen. I'm a little bit of a freak of nature on LinkedIn.
You're always there.
So
always there. And if anyone needs marketing help, please reach out to me, Jeff Evans at jvincentcreative.com. Again, thanks, Drew, for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.